what brought you in to IASIS?
I originally my sister convinced me. I have been on medication since I was 19, been going to therapy since I was about 15 due to just traumatic events that have happened. Also, I have had really bad depression and anxiety to the point where it basically controlled my life. And I had gotten to a point where I was functioning on my medication. I was on 3 different medications. Actually, I think I was on 4 different medications, and those, were okay, but I was not, it was just managing everything. It wasn't actually fixing anything. And my sister convinced me to come, and I am so grateful I did because it changed my life. And I feel corny saying that, like, oh my gosh, it changed my life, but it's like, it really actually, like, I started in March. I started in March was my first session. I came every week for about 2 months, and I have not had the medication since. I haven't had any need to use it because my whole not personality, but my whole being just completely transformed, in the sense of I felt like myself. I hadn't felt that in a very, very long time.
So what would you say your anxiety was when you first came to IASIS on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, it was a 10. My depression and anxiety was a 10, but due to all the medications I was taking, I was actually trying to get off of them, but I couldn't because I was suffering withdrawals, and I had been on them for so long, and so it was both at a 10, and all my symptoms were extreme, but I was just managing. It was like putting a Band-Aid over it. It was pretty severe. I was just so used to it that I didn't even realize how bad it actually was until I started seeing the effects from the brain therapy. I was like, oh, it was pretty bad.
So what would you say your anxiety is now?
Non-existent. Obviously I have moments of anxiety like every human being does, but I was living in constant anxiety to the point where I would have these, I wouldn't call them episodes, but just these moments that were so long, and also made it so working was really hard. It affected my job, affected my relationships, and I was doing everything humanly possible to manage it. It wasn't being fixed. It was just, I was just trying to prevent it from spiraling out of control. And now I forget sometimes what my life used to be like because it's changed so much. I forget that that's how I used to live, because now I go to work every day. I don't need any medication. I feel myself. I'm happy. My parents even have said they feel like they're seeing the side of me that I had when I was a kid. So it's definitely just been a full, I'd say 360 as far as when I came in initially, and now everything's changed internally and externally for me.
Wow. That's awesome.
I know, it's great.
So what would you tell someone who was thinking about coming to do brain sessions?
For me personally, I was willing to try anything at this point because it doesn't hurt to try anything. But for me, I've found myself recommending this to a lot of people because I hear about different things with my friends and family, and immediately I'm like, you need to do this brain therapy because it seriously will. It's not like you do a session and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a changed person. But I remember within a couple weeks of doing the first sessions, I was sleeping so much better. I used to get up like every couple hours and wake up, and I couldn't fall asleep, and my sleep was awful. My sleep is completely fine now. I can actually sleep through the night, and I can fall asleep at a decent time, not at like 2 a.m. And I would recommend it 1,000% to anybody who wants to try it. It's worth every penny. It's worth all the time because it changes you, not in a way like putting a band-aid over something. You can tell your habits are starting to change. The way you think changes. The way I think now has changed. The way you just go through life, it feels like you're yourself again. That's how I would describe it. Is you feel like, oh, like this is how I'm supposed to be and this is who I am. It's not like you're like, oh, I always have this thing in the back of my mind where it's like I have these symptoms of this certain thing, or whatever someone deals with. And it also, it can be helpful in any situation. My dad does it, and he doesn't have anything severe like I did, but it's helped him. I've noticed how it's helped him. So it can be beneficial to literally anybody who's just trying to sharpen their brain and make themselves a better person.